Let's get a divorce. I'm cheating on you. Her bizarre logic left me speechless. I was so stunned I couldn't even think of a reply. Seeing my silence, she crossed her arms. And besides, what does your little affair have to do with me? Did this woman put you up to this? Let me tell you something, Leo. The answer is no. Not happening. Absolutely not. So much for the untouchable Ice Queen. She was having a full-blown meltdown. And this was Isabel Sterling, the woman I had a purely transactional marriage with. No feelings involved. On our wedding day, I made myself a promise. I would not under any circumstances fall for this beautiful, rich, impeccably dressy. It was a matter of pride. I was the one who set the terms. Listen, I told her, I won't interfere in your life, and I won't get any funny ideas. You do you. We just need to keep up appearances. Fine, was her clipped cold reply. It was exactly what I'd expected. I'd heard the rumors. After all, she was already in love with someone else. I never bothered to Google the guy's name or find out where he was. As long as he wasn't dumb enough to show up and gloat, I was golden. With my family's money, I could coast for the rest of my life, provided I never tried to actually start business. So Isabel and I began our married life as polite, distant roommates. We were just two people coexisting under the same roof. Every day I'd offer a perfunctory morning, afternoon, or night, and that was the extent of our interaction. Isabel, in turn, would respond with a single ICM or maybe a slight nod if she was feeling generous. Occasionally, in what I assumed was a flicker of conscience, she'd remind me about a heatwave warning or tell me to take an umbrella if it looked like rain. Are you going to the Vanguard tonight? I can have the driver take you, she asked one evening, her tone completely flat. The Vanguard was the usual spot for me and my buddies, a handful of trust fund kids with nothing better to do than burn through our inheritances. It was all harmless fun mostly. Isabel had come with me once shortly after we got married. My friends, who had only seen her briefly at the wedding, immediately started giving me a hard time. To what do we owe the honor? Matt had slurred, a smirk on his face. Didn't think the great Isabel Sterling had time to grace us mortals with her presence. Isabel pursed her lips, clearly uncomfortable with the banter. Well, she stammered. I think it's important to support my husband. She'd barely warmed her seat before her phone rang. She explained it was an emergency at the office and had to leave. Seeing the rare flicker of guilt on her face, I knew what was really up. A late-night rendezvous with the one that got away. Probably go, I'd said, waving her off magnanimously. Work is important. The second she was gone, they swarmed me. Their faces lit up with gossip. Dude, Matt leaned in. Is she always that cold? Like even at home? You know, I almost spit out my beer. How was I supposed to answer that? We were married, but we hadn't so much as held hands. Our schedules were perfectly misaligned. She was up at 6 o'clock for spin class. I rolled out of bed at night. I was asleep by the time she got home from the office. Can we please talk about something else? I said, trying to soundboard. Matt just gave me a knowing, pitying smile. I get it, man. It's cool. We're all in the same boat with these arranged marriages. We do our own thing, but she's got a whole other life somewhere. Hey, you want to call some girls over? A guy like you? The looks, the money. You could have your pick. Yeah, man. Another friend chimed in. Live it up while you're young. Don't wait till you're old and can't get it up anymore. They were relentless, a chorus of enablers, promising me the girls were clean, discreet, and professional. My resolve started to crumble. My friends were men of action. Before I knew it, 10 models were lined up in front of me. It was a dizzying sight. All legs and flawless skin. I'd specifically requested no heavy makeup, and they all had a surprisingly innocent look. My eyes landed on one end in particular. You, I said, pointing. She was a little shy, and something about her reminded me of Isabel. The other girls left, disappointed. The one I'd chosen walked over nervously, tugging at the hem of her short skirt. I poured her a glass of wine. She took a delicate sip, the fragrance filling the air. Then she closed her eyes, leaned in, and moved to press her lips to mine. An image of Isabel flashed in my mind, her cool, perfect face. I flinched and pushed the girl away. Never mind, I said gruffly. You can go. Matt was practically cackling. Seriously, Leo, I pulled some strings to get you actual college students. Don't tell me you've got a problem downstairs. I shot him a death glare. You want to find out? See how much of a problem I have. He just laughed, clutching his ass and staggering away theatrically. The mood was shot. I went home. Why was I always thinking about Isabel? Was I really that much of a hopeless romantic? I stared at the wedding photo on my nightstand. She was actually smiling in it. A rare faint curve of her lips. But looking at it now, it seemed forced. It was strange. Isabel Sterling was a legend in the financial world. Came from old money. Double PhD from Stanford, took over a division of her family's company and turned it into a powerhouse. It was like she had a crystal ball. Every move she made turned out to be spectacularly right. And on top of all that, she had the kind of face that could launch 1,000 ad campaigns even without a stitch of makeup. The only thing I couldn't figure out was why she'd married into my family. The Sterlings and the Hayes had barely moved in the same circles, and my family's fortune, while still massive, had been on a slow, steady decline for years. We had a bad habit of getting into every new industry just as the bubble was about to burst. The rumor was that her grandfather had arranged the whole thing. After running the scenario through my head 1,000 times, I'd landed on a theory. Isabel needed a respectable, stable marriage as a cover so she could carry on with her true love and secret. For me, the deal was a win-win. The alliance with the Sterlings was a lifeline for my family's company. The only downside was seeing Isabel's face every day. It stirred things in me I was trying to suppress, especially in the mornings when she'd be in the foyer dressed in a sharp blouse and pencil skirt, pulling out a pair of black stockings before stepping into her heels. In those moments, I finally understood how perfectly normal guys could snap and end up doing hard time having that walking in front of you every day. It was inhuman. No, I was getting the short end of the stick here. One day, she and her secret lover would go public and I'd be left with nothing. I had to at least collect some interest on this investment. So, on our second anniversary, I hatched a plan. I gave the housekeeper the night off. I set up a camel at dinner. I scattered rose petals from the front door all the way to the bedroom. It was going to be a night of seduction, a grand, sweeping romantic gesture. The sound of the key in a lock made my heart pound against my ribs. Isabel walked in and for a split second her eyes lit up. I thought, this is it. It's working. Then her face hardened. What is all this? She asked, her voice laced with disdain. Her brow was furrowed. That was definitely not the look of someone who was pleased. The sheer force of her disapproval left me tongue-tied. She took a deep breath. If you're done, get some rest. I'll have the housekeeper clean this up tomorrow. I have to get back to the office. And with that, she turned and walked out. She didn't come home for a month. At first, I was just embarrassed, and I was angry. Finally, a deep, weary sadness settled in. Was it so wrong to want to feel some connection with my own wife? I woke up in the middle of the night, reaching for the empty space beside me in bed. That's when I made my decision. You want a divorce? Isabel held the papers, her voice trembling slightly. Why? I let out a bitter laugh. You're seriously asking me why? We don't talk. We don't sleep in the same bed. The only thing you ever ask me is if I need money. You never once ask if I'm happy. And most importantly, I stopped myself. If I kept going, I'd be in too deep. I couldn't let her know. I couldn't let her know I'd fallen for her. My mind for some reason started trying to translate the phrase falling for someone to fall in love. God, what was wrong with me? Any more explaining and I'd blurt out, I'm in love with you. To stop myself, I grabbed the first excuse I could think of. I'm in love with someone else. A woman as proud as Isabel would never tolerate her husband so blatantly cheating on her. This out of work. I want to be with her, I added, twisting the knife. Silence. The air in the room grew thick and heavy. I could almost feel the storm gathering around her. See the lightning flashing in her eyes. She looked like a vengeful goddess and I had to suppress the urge to shout some ridiculous movie line. What's wrong with my brain? You're saying you have a mistress? She finally asked, her voice dangerously low. I nodded. Yes, and I don't want her to be the other woman anymore. I want to give her a real life with me. So, we have to get a divorce. Her pupils dilated. Her whole body started to shake. I was about to say something to soften the blow when she pointed a trembling finger at me. If you're having an affair, that's your problem. You break up with her. Why should I have to get a divorce? What kind of decent woman agrees to be a mistress? As long as I don't agree to this, she will always be the other woman. Divorce is not an option. Do you hear me? Absolutely not. Her eyes were red and she looked like she was about to cry. I held out a tissue. Hey, calm down. I know I'm the one in the wrong here, but don't just shut it down. I guided her to the sofa. Look, I said gently. If we get divorced, you'll be free to be with your real soulmate. You're in charge of the company now. Your family can't control your life anymore. Wouldn't it be better for everyone? Just as I was about to launch into a heartfelt, logical appeal, she snatched the divorce papers from my hand and ripped them to shreds. She want my place? She hissed. She can keep dreaming. She stormed off into the bathroom, leaving me alone on the sofa, lost in thought. And then it hit me, the real reason. Over the past 2 years, the Hayes and Sterling corporations had become deeply intertwined. We were in the middle of a critical joint venture. If we divorce now, it would send both our companies' stocks into a nosedive and crater the entire project. The financial fallout would be catastrophic. I slapped my thigh. Damn it, I'd miscalculated. Of course, she was a brilliant businesswoman. She'd seen the bottom line in an instant. For the next few days, she started coming home from work on time. She was suddenly around a lot. If I was scrolling through my phone on the couch, she'd be right there tapping away on her laptop. If she saw I was playing a game, she pointedly looked back at her own screen. I got bored and decided to try cooking. As I stood in the kitchen, she hovered nearby, watching me like a hawk. I managed to burn the steak. It's a little charred, I said, turning to her. You want it? She looked like she was about to bite through a nail. You only offer me the food you ruin. Fine, I said and moved to scrape the blackened mess into the trash. She lunged forward and grabbed my hand, then dumped the steak onto a plate and started tearing at it with her fingers. I thought you said you didn't want it. If she can eat your cooking, why can't I? I had a feeling she was picturing the non-existent other woman as she chewed on that burnt piece of meat. Weirdly, it was kind of attractive. That night, I had just settled in a bed when I felt the mattress dip beside me. I instinctively scooted away. I glanced over and met Isabel's wounded gaze. Do you hate me that much? She whispered. I quickly moved back. No, of course not. I had no idea what to say next, so I just turned off the light. In the darkness, I felt her shift closer, our arms brushing against each other. A wild part of me was praying she'd just pounce on me, and we could settle this once and for all. Instead, the night passed in total silence. When I woke up, she was gone. A note was on the nightstand. Office emergency. Wait for me. She had her life. I had mine. It worked. What was my life exactly? That morning, I got a text. Leo, it's Chloe. Could we meet Chloe? Who was? Oh, right. Chloe Miller, the model from that night. The quiet, shy one who looked like a supermodel trying to pass for a college kid. I called her. She picked up immediately, her voice bright with excitement. Leo, you called. I got into Colia. I wanted to thank you. I couldn't have paid my tuition without the money you gave me. As we talked, I got the whole sad story. Gambling dad, sick mom, a family in pieces. The night at the lounge was supposed to be her first time. When I'd sent her away, she'd started to cry right there in the dim light. Please, sir, she'd begged. If you send me back, they'll keep my deposit. I won't be able to survive. So, I paid her for the night and told Matt to make sure she got home safe. And now, just a few weeks later, she was starting an Ivy League school. She said she wanted to see me one last time before she left for the semester. How could I say no? We agreed to meet at a Starbucks. When I got there, I realized it was on the ground floor of Isabel's office building. I remembered she didn't drink coffee, so it was probably safe. Wait, why was I still thinking about that? We were getting a divorce. I pushed open the door and saw her at a table by the window. Sunlight streamed in, catching her in a halo of light. She was wearing a simple sundress, but couldn't hide her long legs or the vibrant, youthful energy she radiated. I felt old. Leo, what do you want to drink? My treat, she said, her cheeks flushing. I glanced at the menu and picked the cheapest thing. A plain black coffee. She shook her head quickly. Oh, no. Please get something else. I have 3 part-time jobs now. You don't have to get the cheap one. I feel bad enough asking you to meet me here. Her voice trailed off. I gently tapped her on the head. It's not about the money. I actually like this one. And stop with the formal stuff. It's weird. Just call me Leo. Her eyes lit up. Really? Okay, Leo. I smiled and nodded, but then I felt a sudden intense prickling on the back of my neck. Leo. I turned. It was Isabel. Her face was a thundercloud, dark and stormy. Behind her stood a few people in sharp suits. Her corporate lieutenants, I guessed. My heart started hammering. I felt like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Isabel strode over to our table and leaned in, whispering fiercely in my ear. Play along. My team is watching. Give me some face. I glanced over at our entourage. Their faces were practically screaming gossip. The second our eyes met, they all looked away. We weren't divorced yet. I couldn't blow this up. I nodded. I realized Isabel was staring daggers at Chloe. This is Chloe Miller, I stammered. Oh, a friend of mine. A friend? A triumphant predatory smile spread across Isabel's face. She leaned forward so only the three of us could hear. You hear that, sweetie? You're just a friend. A platonic friend. Leo still comes home to me at night. And don't think that little schoolgirl act is fooling anyone. How much will it take for you to leave him alone? The words hung in the air. I was stunned. Chloe was horrified. She looked at this woman acting like a mother hen protecting her chick and turned beet red. I wasn't trying to fool anyone. She whispered, her eyes welling up. I just wanted to thank Leo. Tears started to roll down her cheeks. I couldn't stand it. Isabel, what the hell is wrong with you? Apologize to her now. Isabel stared at me aghast. Leo, can't you see what she is? She's a snake. I don't care if she's a rattlesnake. Apologize or I'm leaving with her. Don't know. Fine. I'll apologize. She yelled, grabbing my arm. She turned to Chloe. I'm sorry. The words were barely out of her mouth before she seemed to reconsider. Wait, why am I apologizing? She's trying to steal my husband. Why do I have to say I'm sorry? Chloe finally understood what was happening. She bowed her head quickly. It's okay. It was all a misunderstanding. I should go. Bye, Leo. She stood up and as she passed, discreetly pressed a small box into my hand. After Chloe left, Isabel's 5 employees were still lingering, looking like they wished they had popcorn. I sat down trying to act casual. I thought you were buried in work. What are you doing drinking coffee? For some reason, Isabel's mood seemed to have lifted. Finished early. Thought I'd treat the team. She waved them over. Order whatever you want. It's on me. My husband and I need to talk for a minute so you can just hang out. Her team started gushing. You and Mr. Hess are so cute, Miss Sterling. Thank you so much. We won't hold back. I shook my head. Don't thank me. I'm not paying. Then I stopped. Isabel's money was technically our marital property. So, in a way, I was paying. We're so jealous. Mr. Hayes. One of the women said, Miss Sterling talks about her husband at the office all the time. All right, that's enough. Isabel said, shooing them away with a smile. Go order before you wear out your welcome. But I was stuck on what the employee had said. Isabel talked about me at work. No, wait. She'd said Isabel talks about her husband, but the rumor was she was in love with someone else. Her husband could be a code word for him. My good mood evaporated. I stared at Isabel. You brought the guy you're in love with into your company. She looked completely taken aback. I must have hit a nerve. I had someone look into it. I knew about her private conversations, how she told her inner circle she was in love. She was a notorious loner who rarely made friends. The only person she'd ever been close to was a guy in college. I'd heard she'd even been his angel investor for a startup. They'd won some national entrepreneurship competition together. I'd even seen a photo of them, a handsome, clean-cut kid who looked great next to her. If her grandfather hadn't forced her to marry me, they'd probably be married by now. The thought soured everything. Even if she was talking about me at work, it was probably just for show. A way to add some spice to their secret affair. I stood up abruptly. Isabel, that's going too far. She blinked, then clasped her hands together like a penitent child. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Her quick apology disarmed me, and I sat back down. What exactly were you wrong about? She asked timidly. Leo, I swear I haven't brought anyone into the company. Besides, aren't you the one who's cheating? She glanced in the direction Chloe had gone, her brow furrowing. Was it her? Did that girl tell you lies about me? I knew I shouldn't have let her go. She turned back to me, her expression pitiful. Do you really like her that much? You believe everything she says, but you won't believe me. She closed her eyes as if making a painful, momentous decision. When she opened them again, they were red-rimmed. Fine, she said, her voice shaking. I can compromise, but I have to be the first wife. I choked, spraying a mouthful of coffee across the table. What was that? What she thought this was about? Was I giving off some kind of polygamous vibe? Wait, it wasn't the worst idea I'd ever know. Stop it. My plan was to use a fake affair to get a divorce, not to audition candidates for a harem. Something was very, very wrong here. Looking at Isabel, who was now nodding to herself as if she'd solved a complex equation, a wild theory began to form in my mind. Isabel, I said slowly. The person you're in love with. It isn't me, is it? A blush crept from her cheeks all the way to the tips of her ears. She looked down and gave a tiny shy nod. The world screeched to a halt. The internet forums on how to get your wife to divorce you had definitely not mentioned this as a possible outcome. I was about to press for more details when her phone rang, a jarring intrusion. After a brief clip conversation, she looked at me with genuine regret. Honey, something came up at the office. I have to go. Go home and wait for me. She stood, her professional mask snapping back into place, and strode out of the Starbucks with purpose. I beat a hasty retreat myself. My brain was overloaded. I needed to go home and process. I had several questions. First, when did Isabel start having feelings for me? Second, if she liked me, why did she react with such anger to my anniversary surprise? And third, was she still in contact with that handsome college boyfriend? To get answers, I decided to wait for her. And while I waited, I recreated the scene from our anniversary. Candlelit dinner, rose petals strewn across the floor leading to the bedroom. I even put on the same suit. The living room was dark, the candle light flickering. When Isabel opened the door, she froze. Then she slowly took off her blazer, leaving her in just her silk blouse and skirt. She stepped onto the path of rose petals. Her stocking feet silent on the floor. Her eyes were glittering with a strange light. It wasn't anger this time. This time I saw a raging fire. Leo, she said, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. You asked for this. I didn't realize the gravity of her words until the next morning when I had to use both hands to haul myself out of bed. The bed was still littered with crushed rose petals, but they were now mixed with something else. A few small bright red stains on the white sheets. Something was very wrong. No woman's first time was supposed to be that intense. Was she on something? Adrenaline thump. The bedroom door opened. Isabel walked in, moving a little stiffly, but with a radiant smile on her face. Honey, you're awake. Are you hungry? I made breakfast. As I picked at the perfectly cooked scrambled eggs and toast, I looked at Isabel, who was sipping her orange juice like a queen surveying her domain. Last time I did the whole camel at dinner thing. You were furious, I said. What changed last night? She dabbed her lips with a napkin. I thought you'd been corrupted by some other woman. You never used to be so romantic, and honestly, I'm not very exciting. I don't know any of the tricks those other women do. It sort of made sense. I wasn't usually one for grand gestures. That night must have been a fluke, a surge of testosterone, but I still had questions. I looked her straight in the eye. I heard you were in love with someone in college. What was that about? Are you still in touch? Are you trying to have it both ways? Even though last night was memorable, I wasn't interested in being part of a love triangle. If she was just playing games, I still wanted the divorce. Who are you talking about? She asked, looking genuinely confused. Under the table, I tried to nudge her with my foot, but her leg was so smooth in its silk stocking that my foot just slipped. It probably looked like I was trying to be cute. I stopped and cleared my throat. Don't play dumb. I know you were all over that one guy in college. She frowned, thinking. Then her eyes lit up in recognition. Oh, you mean Jason Carter. Of course. The name matched the intel I'd gotten. The truth was out. My heart sank. Seeing my crestfallen expression, she panicked. "No, it's not what you think," she said, standing up. "I never liked him." "Who's been feeding you these lies?" Realizing her words weren't convincing enough, she rushed to my side and held up her hand as if taking an oath. "Honey, don't misunderstand. He just had a good head for business, so I helped him out a little. That's all. I swear. Besides, he's married now. And you know he's married." My sharp question made her look like she was about to cry again. "His wife is my executive assistant. She's on maternity leave right now. That's why I've been working so much overtime." "It's true." She pulled out her phone and opened her texts, trying to show me their conversations. I couldn't be bothered. I turned my head away. She just followed my head with her phone, shoving the screen in my face. Seeing how earnest and desperate she was, I finally let out a sigh. Okay, I believe you." She got up from her half-kneeling position and went back to her breakfast. After a few bites, she suddenly looked at me with suspicion. "Did you have me investigated?" Crap. She knew. Isabel hated anyone prying into her private life. I waved my hands frantically. "No, honey. Listen, let me prevaricate. Let me explain." She leaned forward and pressed a finger to my lips. "Ush, just admit it. You like me more, don't you? No matter how wild the other women are, you'll always have a place for me in your heart. They're just passing ships in the night. I'm your final destination." She was getting carried away. A goofy lovesick grin spreading across her face. Seeing her spiraling into a rom-com fantasy, I knew I had to set the record straight. "Actually, I said I wasn't cheating. I thought you didn't like me. So, I made it up as an excuse to get a divorce. I was afraid if I stayed, I'd fall too deeply in love with you to ever get out." The second the words left my mouth, I cringed at how cheesy they sounded. Isabel stared at me, dumbfounded for a full 30 seconds. "Honey, you really like me?" Looking at her shocked expression, I was finally certain. The person she was in love with, she told her friends about it, really was me. As the realization dawned on her, she started tearing my toast into little pieces and feeding them to me. And then right there in the living room, she began to put my youthful stamina to the test once again. After we finally cleared the air, Isabel was like a different person. When I went out with my friends, she'd tag along, smiling sweetly and fielding all their questions. "Ms. Sterling, aren't you usually swamped with work? How do you have time to hang out?" "Being with my husband is my most important job." "Wow, Isabel, you're suddenly so clingy with Leo. Isn't it normal for a wife to be clingy with her husband? Our Leo is a great catch." "Of course, he is, and I'm going to take good care of him. Everything I have is his." It got so gushy, I couldn't even listen. But in front of my friends, I finally felt like I could stand a little taller. The tables had well and truly turned. Her phone rang. I knew it was work. "Go on," I said. "Go and come back soon." She planted a loud kiss on my cheek and drove off. The moment she was gone, Matt leaned in with a sly grin. "The MS is gone. Should we call some girls to liven things up?" I just shook my head. "You guys have fun. I'm heading home." I already felt like I was walking on clouds these last few days. Any more fun? And I might actually float away. As I was leaving the club, my phone buzzed with a text. "Leo, help me." It was followed by a location pin. It was from Chloe. We weren't close, but I couldn't just ignore it. And in a weird way, she was the reason Isabel and I had finally sorted things out. I got in my car and sent Isabel a text. "Go and check something out. Be home later." I forwarded her the location pin, but didn't mention Chloe. The address led me to a dilapidated auto repair shop in some industrial corner of Queens. The air was thick with the smell of mildew. The place had clearly been abandoned for years. "Chloe," I called out, keeping my voice low. Had her dad's creditors caught up with her? Silence. I pulled out my phone and called her. The second she answered, she screamed. "Leo, run." The quiet was shattered. Figures emerged from the shadows. "Keep an eye on the girl." A gruff voice barked. "This is Isabel Sterling's husband. Grab him." Four menacing-looking guys started closing in on me. Hearing Isabel's name, I figured this was about business. One of her rivals, probably. Facing down 4 beefy thugs, I wasn't exactly confident. Even with a few years of boxing classes under my belt, before they could react, I lunged, taking one of them out with a quick hard shot. The other three immediately grew cautious, grabbing pieces of wood and a steel pipe, forming a triangle around me. I snatched a broken plank from the floor to defend myself. In the chaos of the fight, I heard Chloe scream, "Watch out!" I felt a rush of air behind me. Before I could dodge, I heard a sickening thud and a crunch, but it wasn't my bone. I felt no pain. I whipped around and saw Isabel. She was standing behind me, her arm raised to block a vicious blow that had been meant for my head. "You touch my husband," she snarled, her eyes blazing red, seemingly oblivious to pain. "And I will kill you." Seeing the pipe connect with her arm, I saw red, too. I stopped defending and just attacked a wild, desperate flurry of blows. The next thing I knew, the sound of sirens was echoing through the garage. My legs gave out and I collapsed. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, the first thing I smelled was antiseptic. Everything was a sterile, glaring white. Isabel was asleep in a chair beside my bed. Her head was bandaged and one of her arms was in a cast. I shifted slightly and her eyes snapped open. Her voice was thick with tears. "Leo, honey, you're awake. Doctor, doctor." After a thorough checkup, it turned out I had nothing more than some bruises and scrapes. Isabel, on the other hand, was seriously injured. Both of her arms were fractured. One was in a heavy cast, the other in a splint. "You're hurt way worse than I am," I said, exasperated. "Go lie down," she shook her head stubbornly. "No, I have to watch you." "Watch me do what?" "I'm not going to run away." I was so scared," she whispered. "If I'd been a minute later, I can't even imagine." She explained that the men weren't after Chloe. They were after us. "Bed 7 needs a new 4. A cheerful voice announced. A young nurse in pink scrubs came in to change my bag. "This one's an antibiotic." Watching her move, I couldn't help but feel a little parched. My throat was dry. I swallowed hard, a purely reflexive action, but Isabel saw it. A jealous fire ignited in her eyes. For a second, I thought she was going to launch herself at the poor nurse, but her cast made it impossible. Thank God. A little while later, the doctor came in for his rounds. He gave me a quick once-over and then turned his attention to Isabel's arms. As he examined her, she kept shooting me looks so smoldering they could have melted glass. Looking at her in her designer blouse that now had several holes in it, I raised a weak hand. "Excuse me, doctor. Will this injury affect our, marital activities?" The doctor looked at me confused. Then his face cleared with understanding. "Oh, you mean intercourse?" "Yes, absolutely. It's a strenuous activity. Could easily cause the fractures to shift. And I have to say, as a husband, you should be more concerned about your wife's recovery than that." I turned to Isabel with a stern face. "You heard the man. Doctor's orders." Her face fell. "Fine." After the doctor left, she seemed to soften. "Honey," she said quietly. "I'm so sorry. All I ever did was work, make money, but now I see. All my money is useless." I gave her a flat look. "What do you mean your money? Where did you get any money?" She was confused. "From my company, of course." I didn't give her a second to think. "And who are you earning that money for?" "For you." "So, how did money you earned for me become your money?" "Because I gave it all to you." "Why would you need to give me my own money?" "Well, then I won't give it to you." "Why would you withhold my own money from me?" Her brain seemed to short-circuit. She made a move to lunge at me. I quickly held up my hands. Whoa, doctor's orders. Bed rest. We need to rest."